Hello YouTube! Hiya, welcome back to Matt's Country. Thanks for coming past, very grateful. My name's Matt, unsurprisingly. Today I'm going to show you two different kinds of bipod that I have fitted to these two air rifles. I have other bipods as well. One of them I have more of than the other because I prefer it, and that's what we're going to discuss. Now the rifles in question today, an Air Arms S410, that's the TDR, the takedown rifle. Yes, the stock has been hand oiled. I did it over many weeks. It's a beautiful bit of walnut, but it has that kind of a bipod on at the moment, the springy sort. I'm not naming the bipods, okay? You need to go and research. There's two particularly famous styles of bipod. These are both cheap Chinesium copies that you can buy on eBay for sensible money. And we have to point this out, that is the reason that one of them works better than the other. The cheap Chinesium copy of one of them is a bit wobbly, and the real deal, the real one, isn't like that. So let's not degrade the quality items. These are the cheap replicas. The other gun we have here, which many of you might not have seen before, this is a Type A Veteran, and that's the other kind of bipod. No springs. So let's begin. A bipod is there because you need a nice steady shooting platform. Those two at the front stay on the ground. They're often extendable, sometimes they're spring loaded. You can adjust the height of them, so if you're on a slope or a hill you can still get the gun straight and flat, and the idea is that once that's sorted you can then put your hand in the back part where the butt's going to go into your shoulder, and you can adjust the height of it just by squeezing your wrist, your fist. So give you a quick example. I'm going to move a toolbox to the side and put this gun on the toolbox, and then if I was shooting this I'd have this hand underneath here, and I adjust the height of the gun and the point of impact fractionally by adjusting this. Not so much this trigger finger is just doing that, it's just doing triggering. So that's how I tend to use them. People use bipods in different ways, but that's the way this one is. So this Air Arms S410, it has a groove underneath the stock as standard, and this kind of bipod has a way of fitting to it which involves also a sling swivel if you needed it to be there, and you do this tightening up. This is the kind of bipod I also have on the Viral HW100 on another video which I'm sure you can find. I prefer this bipod because of the springs. They are a bit twangy, and when you pull them down they are a bit noisy. But once they're down, the springs do an exceptionally good job of making this ever so sturdy. The legs lean forward slightly and you can't adjust that, that's just how they are. And it's not particularly pretty. It's got quite a lot of things that you can snag undergrowth and stuff in. You can catch your coat zip on it, and I have done many times. And yet it is still my preference. The height adjustable bit is irrelevant because you can do that on many bipods. The fact that it's so twangy and snappy, it does make quite a noise. I hope you can hear that on my cheap Chinesium phone. So that's my preference, and it's my preference because, let's just swap it now, bring the beast out. This is the other style. Now these work on the premise that when you click this button in here, you can adjust which position the leg sits in, because each bipod has this semicircle, like half moon, with dents in it, and the metal pin fits into the dents. And I think, well, I know for a fact, fundamentally, if these were made to an exceptionally high standard, I'm positive that they would be amazing, but they're not made to an exceptionally high standard because they're cheap. They're not the real deal. And I took the bolts out, I've thread locked them at different pressures to squeeze the leg tighter, and indeed on this one I've left this one floppy as an experiment, and it flops left and right too. This one is far tighter, but on the furthest reach when I push the leg all the way forward, it's an absolute bloody nightmare to push it far enough forward. And to be fair, that is actually a position that it gets shot on fairly regularly. Once it's on the floor, it's fairly sturdy, but not exceptionally so. So they're the two sorts. These tend to be fitted onto a Picatinny rail, and you undo them. This is going to be complicated, so I'll try to do it right-handed. There's a little lever, you squeeze that to release it, you pull the lever out, that frees off the bolt, and then the whole thing comes off. Let's lay the beauty down. Love that gun. Fact. Right, it looks like that. That's the little ridge that will go into the middle of the pick. You don't slide it onto the Picatinny, you move it up into position and then you pull the lever and it squeezes. And you can tighten how much drift you've got with a big knurled knob underneath. So everything about it is brilliant. It has adjustable legs, so you can adjust the height, and they work really, really well. The problem is simply in the cheapness of these joints. So if you were to go out and buy 3 or 4 of these, I'm not suggesting you do, because that would just be ridiculous. You might as well go and buy a proper expensive one. But if you did buy a big batch of these, you could probably find 2 of these metal plates, the sort of semicircle with the dents in, that were perfect for one of the bipods. Because when they're not perfect, they move. So that's the reason I don't particularly like this. It stays on that because it happens to work pretty well, and once you're prone it makes no difference. But this style is my preference. So, one last thing. Everybody always asks. Today is brought to you by the custard cream. I know there's a bloke out there waiting for this to happen. So this is proudly sponsored. Okay, I need a cup of tea now. It's been emotional. Thanks for popping past. Choose your bipod carefully if you're going to go cheap Chinesium. And when you find what you want, buy another one for the other guns. Take care, goodbye, farewell, see you soon.